Greetings, travelers from far and wide. Today I'm here to talk about a book that unfortunately disappointed me, that I hinted at my review of The Quick and the Dead by Louis L'Amour. And that book was, sadly, The Fall of Gondolin by J.R.R. Tolkien. That being said, this book was published way posthumously. J.R.R. Tolkien died in the 70s, and this book was published in 2018. So that is very much posthumously published. And in an earlier review, I believe, of A Monster Calls, I talked about my feelings on posthumous, which I'm hoping I'm saying that word right, publishing, which is sometimes I feel like it's okay, and sometimes I don't. Like, if the book was completed and the author was happy with it and then they died, yeah, you can publish it. This one I am not sure about, to be honest, because I have read the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I have read The Hobbit, and I enjoyed all of them because they were super well written and entertaining. But for The Fall of Gondolin, I'm just going to be honest, it was very, very boring to me. And then, when it got to the actual Fall of Gondolin, when everyone was attacking, there was just so much description happening. It was like, this elven king from this race with this people and this many people. And it was like the Bible when it goes into numbers, and it's literally like, there was this leader of this tribe and this many people there, and this leader of this tribe with this many people there. And then it got into the actual fight, and the only part that I thought was interesting was when the main character, Tor, or however you say his name, rescued his wife, and that was the only interesting part to me. Also, it is like Beren and Luthien, if you've read that book, in the way that it is not a complete novel. And I'll explain myself. It is basically a collection of versions of The Fall of Gondolin. Whereas if you've read The Children of Húrin, that was a complete novel. There weren't a bunch of different versions of it, like this was my dad's version from 1951, and this was his version from 1963 or whatever. It was a complete story, beginning to end novel. The Fall of Gondolin and Beren and Luthien are both like snippets of stuff that Christopher Tolkien has found and put together in a book that kind of tell a story, but in my opinion, not very well. And so that's why I'm wondering, would J.R.R. Tolkien have wanted this to be published? Because, like I've said, I've read his other works, and they were fantastic, and this one was not so fantastic, in my opinion. And so I was wondering if he would have wanted it to have been published, or if he would have wanted to pick one version of the versions depicted in this, and then expand upon it and make it the actual story of the Fall of Gondolin. Because the thing is, the actual story of the Fall of Gondolin is very interesting to me, and how basically the king was so proud that he was like, my city's never gonna fall. And Morgoth was like, watch me. So I find it very fascinating, but it was unfortunately in this version told in a very non-interesting way, and that was so disappointing. I was so ready to read another Children of Húrin novel because I really enjoyed the Children of Húrin, and it just wasn't. It was a bunch of snippets and Christopher Tolkien talking about what he found and this and that. And that was so sad and disappointing, to be honest. So I wouldn't suggest The Fall of Gondolin, which is hard to say because I am a Lord of the Rings fan and a J.R.R. Tolkien fan. I also wouldn't suggest Beren and Luthien, which is not this review, but it's the same thing for me. It was a bunch of snippets of texts, and even if the story was technically complete with a beginning, middle, and end, it just didn't all come together in a way that was interesting to me, and that was sad. So I almost said write your own fan fiction about the Fall of Gondolin, but you know what? I mean, if writing your fan fiction is your thing, do it. But if not, just go with the lore and deal with it and just make up, your own depiction of it in your head or something of what the Fall of Gondolin was actually like, because the book was so boring in my opinion. It took forever to get to Gondolin, then when he got there, he was just sitting around for a long time, and then the fight happened, and the fight itself was either boring or like way too descriptive, where it was like, this lizard climbed this wall at this angle and this, and I was just like, I don't care. I'm sorry. The Fall of Gondolin is interesting, but the way it's described, I do not care for. So, yeah, that was The Fall of Gondolin by J.R.R. Tolkien. Like I said, I'm still a big fan of his works, and I just, besides The Children of Húrin, I would not read anything. I mean, The Silmarillion was alright too. I've read The Silmarillion, which was also published posthumously. It's kind of hard to follow because there's so many characters, but if you can keep track of them all, I also enjoyed The Silmarillion. But Fall of Gondolin and Beren and Luthien definitely at the bottom of my list. Yeah, and because this is a J.R.R. Tolkien review, I'm just going to say, what's your favorite moment in Lord of the Rings? Which is really hard to choose. I'm going to go on the books. Because a lot of people, I mean, not a lot of people love the movies. Some people had a beef with them. I'm totally fine with the Lord of the Rings films. Not the Hobbit ones, but the Lord of the Rings trilogy was good. My favorite part in the books, though, I actually love when Tom Bombadil puts the ring on and nothing happens to him. And he's just like, woohoo, life's great, la la la. Love that. I understand why they didn't put Tom Bombadil in the movies. Like, it's kind of unnecessary to the story. And you can cut him out and it can still make a consistent story. So I get it. But I do enjoy that part in the books when he puts on the ring and nothing happens. And then my second favorite moment in the books is Éowyn slaying the king, the Witch King. Just so well written. Her lines are awesome. She's a totally awesome woman. And it just proves that there are strong women in the Tolkien literature because some people thought there weren't. And those people obviously haven't read the books. Anyways, if you like book reviews and you like J.R.R. Tolkien, check out his works, even this one if you're a diehard fan. And subscribe. I leave book reviews every Friday, and I would love to know, what is your favorite moment of Lord of the Rings? Either the books or the movies. I don't care because I like both of them. They're both great in my opinion. So yeah, leave me a comment down below. Favorite Lord of the Rings moment. And thank you so much. And we all know that Sam is the real hero of Lord of the Rings. To you, Sam.